Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jadesola, and today we're going to be talking about how to invest in real estate outside of buying your own. Buying your own home is like the most popular way that people invest in real estate, and if you ask around, most people don't even know that there's so many other ways that they can invest in real estate, either actively or passively, and still make money out of real estate. And the first one I'm going to be talking about today is rental arbitrage. This is one of the most underrated hacks to getting into real estate. And I think that it's also because people feel like it's challenging. Now, rental arbitrage is like when you rent someone's property and then you rent it out to other people. So in essence, you negotiate a fixed rent amount with the owner of the property, and then you put the property to use so that you can generate the rent that you're going to need to pay to the landlord, as well as some extra income for yourself. Now, here in the UK, they call it rent to rent or rent to service accommodation. And it's basically you speaking to a landlord or an estate agent to say, hey, you know what? I want to rent this property, but I'm not the one that is going to be living in there. Somebody else is going to be living in there, or this is what I want to use it for. And I think that one of the reasons why a lot of people are scared of this strategy is the fact that they're scared of hearing no. Some people think it's illegal for you to get someone's house and then rent it out to other people, but not realizing that everything is around like the agreements. First of all, you're not doing this behind the owner's back. Everybody is aware of what the property is going to be used for. You guys will enter into an agreement, and based on the agreement, you are allowed to let the property out. So you find people who would rent, say, a 3-bedroom property, and then they would convert it into like HMO. So HMO is house of multiple occupancy. So instead of renting out the building as one, they would rent out the house room by room and even convert the living room into a bedroom. The house share I was living at when I first moved to the UK was something like this. It was a 3-bedroom property that was turned into a 4-bed HMO, where even the living room was converted into a bedroom, and we were all paying. I was paying £1,000. Another person was paying 1,100 because their room was bigger. Another person was paying £800. So just looking at the amount of money that you can make from, renting the property out room by room. For example, on the property that I was describing earlier, the person was probably making maybe about 3,500 on a monthly basis on the average. And let's say their rent to the landlord is 2,000, which means that the 1,500 pounds extra is for them. So this is like they're leveraging somebody else's assets to make more money. Other people can decide and say they want to use this strategy for Airbnb, so for short-term lets. They would list the property on Airbnb or Booking.com. They're not the owners of the property, but they furnish it, they take pictures, they list it out, and then they start to earn money per night because that's how typically people would rent out this kind of properties listed on Airbnb and Booking.com. Some people get like contractors. So there are big companies that maybe when their staff relocates, they look for temporary accommodation for them. And there are companies that this is what they do. And this property can also be listed there. And you can get people to, rent this property off of you from some of those platforms. And as long as you're making way more money than you need to pay to the landlord, then it's a very good form of investment. I know so many people who have used this particular strategy to make 500, 1,000 pounds per property, and if they have like multiple of this, they're able to, over time, within like maybe 6 months or a year, they're able to raise the deposit that they need to go and buy their first property. Like there's so many examples out there that I can even think about. And the initial capital that you need to do this is not a lot. It's not like the deposit that you need to buy a house. So typically, things like this may cost you maybe between £4,000 to maybe £7,000, depending on how you intend to source the property, to furnish it, and the deposit that you will need to pay the landlord, because you may most likely need to pay both 1 month's rent and 1 month's deposit. So rental arbitrage is one of the easiest ways that people can get into real estate investing. And it definitely has its pros and cons, but it's something that is worth doing research on, because the amount of money you need to get started is not as much as trying to save up for deposit to buy your own property. Another way you can invest in real estate without owning your own is by investing in REITs. REITs is real estate investment trusts. So think of it like stocks, right? But these are like companies that own multiple properties. It could be warehouses, it could be commercial properties for like shopping malls, it could be student accommodation. But basically, you invest in these companies and then you get like dividend. So they will probably pay you out maybe every quarter or every half year, or depending on what the structure is like. If you think about Amazon, for example, Amazon, they don't own all their warehouses, right? They rent some of these properties, and there are certain companies that have invested in a lot of warehouses around the country. And imagine investing in a company that Amazon is renting out from. Like, you would most likely know that unless something catastrophic happens to Amazon, this company will continue to be in existence, right? There are people who invest in student accommodation, to hostels. I think the company is called United Students. They do student accommodation. There's British Land. There's so many of them. All you have to do is, do your research properly and look at maybe any REITs that you can invest in, and passively you can be generating income from there. Although my research has shown that sometimes some of these REITs don't pay as high as investing in stocks, but if you're thinking about diversifying your portfolio, it might be something worth, researching about and maybe putting some money in there. Another way you can invest in real estate is through angel investing or crowdfunding. So this is where you are investing in either an individual or a company that is trying to either buy a new property or renovate a new property, and basically they're promising you a return for investing in that project. So it's more like lending of some sort, because they promise you fixed and guaranteed income from investing in them. There's so many private individuals out there that they have a project, they would reach out and ask people in their community, hey, we're trying to raise, say, £50,000 for this project. We need 10 people who can invest £5,000 each, right? And we're going to offer you something higher than what you would get if you were putting your money in a bank, for example. So they could offer you anywhere between, say, 8% to 20%, depending on how lucrative the project is for them. And that is one way that people can start to get into real estate investments, so to speak. I personally have some that I'm investing in. I have one in Nigeria that I'm investing in, and I have one here in the UK where, I'm investing in like rent to rent, or I'm investing in like hotels where I'm not doing anything, but it's guaranteed income that I'm going to get back over a period of time. It could be 6 months, it could be 1 year. But the work is to do the research in finding out the individuals or the companies that are legit, that you feel comfortable enough with to invest your money. And you could invest as low as maybe £4,000, £5,000, £10,000, but nothing as much as maybe how much you need to invest to buy your own property. Another way that you can invest is maybe through a joint venture. And there are different structures out there. One of the popular ones is when you invest with other people to acquire an asset or to get onto a project, and you partake of maybe the rental income. So if two people, for example, put money together to buy a property, they can then agree and say, we would split the rental income 50-50, or in line with the percentage that you have put in. So let's say the property is £100,000, and then I put in, say, 20% of that money. I would get 20% of the rental income when the property goes live on the market. And there are different structures out there. There are structures where that 20% is going to be passive for you because you don't have to do anything. And there are some where you would have to maybe contribute in some other way other than just putting your money and then walking away. Again, if you're interested in this kind of thing, you can do a lot of research around how joint venture works and maybe companies that are doing this legitimately that you can also partner with anytime they have projects that you can make money off of. Another way you can invest is by being a private lender. So you may have money that you can borrow people. So this is like a loan type situation where you borrow people and then you charge them interest rates over a period of time. There's so many people that use like private lenders for bridging loans for real estate. So maybe people who are not able to go to a mainstream lender for a mortgage. They need quick money. They don't want to go through the hoops of, the lengthy appraisal process. They go to private lenders, and you can legitimately have enough money in your bank and lend to them at whatever rate that you agree. And you can lend at a much higher rate, by the way, because you're not a bank and you have that wiggle room to control your pricing, so to speak. Another way you can invest in real estate without owning your property is by starting a business in a real estate vertical. Now, there's so many verticals that you can actually, make money from. You can either start a property sourcing business where maybe you have a network of people who buy properties regularly, or who are looking for certain type of real estate. It might even be for rent to rent, for example, or they actually want to buy. And you would listen to their criteria and then offer to help them source the property. And I think property sourcers in the UK right now charge between £2,500 to £4,000 for helping you to source a property. And their job is basically done once there's exchange of contracts. So you've put an offer on a property and then the seller has accepted. Once the contract is exchanged, the job is done. So you could start a business like that. Another one is you could start like a property management company where people that have properties that don't want to deal with tenants, that don't want to have to deal with maintenance issues, can engage you, and you're the one that, tenants would call if there's any issue. You're the one that is going to list the property, get tenants, and all those kind of things. Those are businesses that you can start. Another type of business that you can start is property staging. So if you like interior design, you have an eye for how to stage furnitures, this is a business that I've realized that I think is taking off a lot, especially with like Airbnb or service accommodation investors. They buy this property, they don't know anything about interior design. You can help them to source the furniture and help them to, place the furniture, install, the artwork. Just make sure that the place is ready for a tenant, right? It could also be for people who want to sell their property, where they need to take really fancy pictures, and it's hard to imagine like an empty space when you're trying to buy a property. So they would, get a property stager to help them with furnishing the place so that they can take good pictures and list the property online. So that's another type of business that you can look at. Another type of business that you can look at is maybe project management for people who do a lot of renovations. So someone has bought a property You can be a project manager where you're just coordinating everybody that needs to be available on site, and you're supervising the project as well. So everybody from like the plumber, the electrician, the bricklayers, the painters, you are the one that is managing the project, making sure that the place is ready for the investor to use for whatever thing that they want to do. So these are some ways that I feel like you can invest in real estate without necessarily buying your own. But ultimately, I feel like some of these options that I've talked about are ways where you can use it to raise the money that you are now going to use to buy your own property. Anyways, I hope you have enjoyed this personal finance video. If there are other personal finance topics that you would like me to address, I'll be happy to talk about this. I'm at a phase in my life where this is really important to me, and you see that a lot of my content has shifted a lot to start to focusing on personal finance, because this is the phase of my life that I'm in right now. I'm very much into different types of investment opportunities and how to manage money and make money as well. So anyways, if you've enjoyed this video, make sure you like, subscribe, and share, and I will see you next time. Bye.